Okay, this is actually really big news. So there's been some recent developments in theoretical physics, and now it's actually looking like we don't live in a simulation, at least not how we thought before. But if we do, we now know a little bit more about what's simulating us. I'll get back to that in a second. First, I'm going to use a little bit of computer science and physics jargon in this video. It's really not as complicated as it sounds, and it's actually pretty cool. Let's get to it. So you may have heard people say we live in a simulation or heard of something called the simulation hypothesis. And basically it was saying this: if we as humans are able to simulate a universe that's indistinguishable from ours, then the simulated minds in that universe will also be able to do the same thing and basically create an infinite chain of simulated universes. And if that's the case, the likelihood that we are in the base or the original reality becomes super low. So a lot of people use that as evidence to say we are living in a simulation. Now this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So in theoretical physics, the most efficient computer we could possibly create ever would be a black hole. I can make another video on that, but basically it's the upper limit of information density in our universe. We can actually determine the minimum amount of energy required to make a computation on that computer in relation to how much information it holds. And basically it's been determined that to simulate the entire universe for even the smallest unit of time would take way more energy than our universe has. Even to simulate just Earth at the lowest possible resolution, one that we couldn't detect with physics experiments, would take way more energy than we could ever get. This means that if we're being simulated, the universe simulating us is much different than ours. Like it might have more dimensions or way more energy or completely different laws of physics, which does cause the whole crux of the infinite chain of simulations to break down. However, there is still something called the minimal simulation hypothesis, which is now kind of more likely, and that's that the universe isn't simulated at all. It's just our consciousness or our minds that are simulated. And either it's just you being simulated, or we're all being simulated and reality isn't real, it's just kind of what we agree upon creating. And that actually would be supported by some physics experiments that have proved that the universe is not locally real, etc. But really cool to think about.